Steve Bantumbiko, Walter Sisulu are some of the student names that broke the scenes on the world stage during the fight against apartheid because of their advocacy and their liberations struggles against the apartheid. But bring it back into the context of East Africa. The Front for National Salvation, a team that began as a student movement in the University of Dar es Salaam. Many years down the road, it transformed into a liberation army, and me and you know the story. 40 years down the road, they have established an entire government. This is to appreciate the role of student movement in terms of building and nurturing a nation, or in terms of any transformation that must happen. The students have proven to play a critical role. You recall the amendment of Article 102B, the students from Makerere University, and the role they played in terms of saying, you know what, this is a fundamental article of the Constitution and should not be amended. But today we shall focus on Uganda Christian University. I'm joined by a panel of distinguished and eminent students from the law fraternity that shall be sharing with us part of their aspirations and also what they intend to do for the students of UCU, but also generally putting into perspective their manifesto. And to appreciate this, I'm joined by candidate Onen Douglas Drake, who is a student of law at UCU and is a third-year student. I know he has aspirations. He will tell us about the same. Drake, thank you for being here on the show.
Thank you very much, Comrade Kidega. I'm very humbled and privileged again to co-feature on the Youth Roundtable. My name is Onen Douglas Drake, a student of law at Uganda Christian University. I intend to run for the position of president of Uganda Christian University. I look forward to sharing with the panel here, and I look forward to discussing on this quite interesting topic. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Drake. Next to Drake is Namugere Pracious Mary. She's also a student of law at UCU. I don't know if she has aspirations, but well, she'll tell us. Mary.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel so honored to be here today. I am Namugere Precious Mary, just like he said, and I'm a year 3 student of law. I'm the class representative of my class. I can't lie, I wanted to go for guild president sometime, but right now I'm looking at running for president at LDC. So I hope we meet there.
Interesting. Those are future aspirations. Yeah, I mean, they have to be nurtured at some point. Next to Mary and next to Harry is Kinobere Andrew Marvin, also a student of law at UCU. I don't know if he has aspirations. I will leave that at his discretion to tell us.
Yes, thank you very much. As he has already said, my name is Kinobere Andrew Marvin, and I'm in my second year at Uganda Christian University. I feel so humbled and privileged to be here. It's actually my first time. I look forward to a wonderful deliberation, to a fruitful one, and yeah, as you said, for the Law Society race, I have no aspirations. Maybe later in the future, but as per now, let's keep it at that.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Very interesting. Next to Andrew is Kwikiriza Harry, also a student of law at UCU. This is a panel full of lawyers. Very interesting. Harry. Thank you. Is it Harry Specter or?
It's an honor to be here. My name is Kwikiriza Harry. As I've already been introduced, I'm in my second year doing law at Uganda Christian University. I look forward to a very engaging and interesting discussion with the other panelists.
All right, thank you. At least now you know them by name. Let's now know them by mind. Drake, at least you've openly told us your aspirations. I have hinted earlier on that the student movement is known for participating in social political revolutions that have transformed nations and built countries. You have aspirations for Uganda Christian University. My question is, what do you have in stock for them?
Well, once again, I'm very privileged to be part of the Youth Roundtable. Well, I have quite a number of issues or agenda, what people call manifesto, that I have in store for the students of law at Uganda Christian University. But fast forward, it is true that student leadership later on transcends into something that forms or informs the politics of the country. So that said, the leadership that I intend to bring forward in Uganda Christian University, particularly in the law fraternity, is one that is looking at providing services and serving the students and having an impact for the greater good. So in my team, or the Drake team rides on a 3-point agenda. And that 3-point agenda later on has a number of trickle-down effects and a number of activities we're looking on. And that 3-point agenda is one that looks at harnessing the writing skills of students, and that is a revamping of the UCU Law Journal. The second agenda that I ride on in this in this race is one that intends at having a law clinic or a legal clinic. This legal clinic is intended to help the community in terms of receiving some services from the students, but also to benefit the institution itself in terms of putting its name out there, and to also benefit the students in terms of giving them a platform to at least have something on their resumes. And the third agenda is one that looks at mentorship, because we know as someone who is growing up, we need to talk to people who have done it, people who have experienced it, to make us the better citizens that we want to be in future. So that is what we intend to run on in this in this race. So that said, with the 3-point agenda, we have other things that we want to focus on, things to do with external relations, with other development partners, inter-university relations with other universities, among others. But for now, that is entirely it. And as we have this conversation and discussion, I intend to demystify all the 3 points that I've put down, and then we can move forward.
All right. Thank you. Harry, are you part of the Onen Drake campaign?
Yes, I'm
You
a
are.
part.
Oh, okay. So just adding on to what Drake has said, what more do you have to offer the students of law fraternity?
Well, I had personally interacted with Mr. Onen on this, and he talked somewhere about co-curricular activities. And as aspiring leaders, we thought it would be very important to have unity amongst the people who were leading, because without unity, a lot of our programs cannot happen. Take an example of the clinic he was talking about, the law clinic. You need students to actively engage with you on this matter. You need students to come and go to the community and give advice. Although you are the one who is mobilizing them and mobilizing the resources, the students are at the center of this. And I believe that's what we have to offer, mainly as the Drake team, this unity, because on this unity, we are going to put all these other programs in our 3-point program, in our 3-point manifesto.
Okay, just to pick it up from there, the aspect of co-curricular activities, could you just highlight some of those activities? Because my understanding is that UCU as an institution is not a very liberal setting, and I'm not sure if you have limits to these kinds of co-curricular activities. Are they only, I mean, for example, can you have like a freshers ball, like we see at Makere University? So what are some of those activities that you're looking at? Is it sports? Is it?
Well, UC is not so liberal, but if you come to understand the concept of unity is one. When you organize a football game, you're bringing people together. When you organize a freshers ball, you're bringing people together. Well, at UC, you could organize a freshers ball, but not necessarily under the same wording. Perhaps you could call it a dinner, and it could pass through. So when you come to unity, you're talking about one concept, bringing people together. So I believe that as a society, let us say we organize basketball games, let us say we organize netball, let us say we bring about a freshers dinner, let us say we create any kind of event that aims at bringing people together, debates, anything of any interest. You get a platform from which to implement other agendas. For example, it is not rocket science that the tuition issue at UCU is a bit high, and I believe this can be solved by unity, because very many regimes before ours have tried to attack it head on, have tried to talk directly with the administration, have tried all kinds of mechanisms towards that, but we have realized that the issue is much deeper than that. It's the reality of the cost of education in Uganda. The fact that the institution is taxed, and in one or the other, for their survival, they have to transfer this tax to the students. So I believe that when it comes to unity, if all of us are united and we have one of the people around us facing an issue, then perhaps we could mobilize capitalizing on this unity or the proceeds from any of these events.
Yeah. All right, Precious. Still, my initial question, I think, is cross-cutting. On top of what the team leader said, what else do you have to offer? What else does this campaign have to offer the students?
Well, apart from the 3-point program he was talking about, I would really love to allow me to hit more on the legal clinic.
Yeah.
Because I feel so interested in it as a person. I came to law school. When we are coming to school, we normally have dreams. You say, I'm going to law school because I want to fight for the poor. I want to fight injustice. But right now, you ask some people, and they will tell you they're doing law because they want to become rich. But also that comes down to not having guidance. Some people are not actually being mentored. But I believe that a legal clinic can change your life because it's giving you like experience, like hands-on experience. You are going to meet people because you're going to be mentored by people like also who are lawyers, lecturers. And as you are into this practice, basically we are going to look at a legal clinic as pro bono, as law students, helping the people who are not so strong financially. So when you're helping these people, with time you notice that I'm actually good at this. I'm actually good maybe in business. I'm actually probably good when I'm helping people who are
Contract law, human rights.
yes. So you find out where you actually fall, what you desire, and what you can do better. So that's another part that is educating you. It's just like saying, it's just like someone coming to you and explaining to you how to play tennis. You have never played tennis, but insinuating and saying you have to do the hand like this, it is hard to understand. So as law students, we need the experience because in class, it's basically books and it's not so practical. So someone may just cram for exams, just like you go to a next semester, they ask you what happened last semester and you do not remember. Why is you just crammed for the exams? But the legal clinic part is that you are being exposed to what you actually love, and there are chances of working with a person who is having your dream job. That excites you. That person initially becomes your mentor. Just like you see someone who you admire on TV and be like, oh, I want to be like that person. You start trying to dress the way they dress because they inspire you. So that is that. The legal clinic, I really want to emphasize it because I want to see myself there. I want to see myself going to practice. I want to help people and try to also figure out. I cannot lie that I exactly know what I want to do after here. I cannot lie about that because that's why I'm also trying to put a lot of energy on the part of mentorship because I need it. I was trying to write application letters to places to get internship, and I did not even know who to address my letter to because in our heads we know it's human resource manager, but some places have managing partner, executive, or clerk of parliament. So we need to sit down and guide our classmates, our friends, our colleagues to know. I ended up calling one of my lecturers to just find out what exact person am I supposed to address my letter to. And I kept Googling because different places had different people. So we need that guidance. We need that mentorship. Part of then I know my friends will add on that, my colleagues, but also hinting on the point where he talked about extracurricular activities. I want to commend the regime that is on right now, the Law Society. They have kept trying to organize events, football matches. Recently, we had a match of law students against LDC. And last year, we also had inter-class matches. And I was one of the players for the football team.
I can also confirm that we had we had a game, a football match between UCU Law and Makerere University Law School. Yeah. I remember that as well.
It's happening. We're just going to do more of it to bring it out there. Like I was saying, it has not just started now. It has been there. But just like you look at something and you like what is happening, but you just need to add more energy to it. Because like I said, we had a match last year where I participated in the football match. Very few people were open to join. Very few. I remember trying to plead to some of my classmates, let's go and play as girls. So yes, it's happening, it's there, but we need to add the force. We need to show our fellow students that you can actually put the passion into this. As law society or as students of law school, we need to relax because law is not something I can say is easy. We are struggling out there. So we can come and try to put our energy out out there somewhere. Extracurricular activities, like we're saying. So very many things, and we can put across all of them. Not just that it's something that was written down by the school, but we are putting passion into it.
Yeah, basically work without play.
Yes.
Yeah. Andrew, what more is there in the basket for the students?
Yes, maybe to start with, you mentioned something in your introduction, the role of some of the student leaders and their impact, us seeing them, developing and actually becoming a more broad thing to leading a country.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to say that we shouldn't underestimate the role of student leaders. We shouldn't underestimate the role of leadership at university level, because this is the grassroots. This is where it all starts from. So as per that, we then need to put in effort to make sure that the leaders we put out there are the leaders that are going to actually represent these interests, that these are the leaders that are going to transform some of these ideas. Away from that, I want to hint more on the mentorship that is part of the 3-point program. I want to hit more on the mentorship. The mentorship programs, they have been there. When I came in my first year, I actually found them there. I found there a kind of mentorship program whereby after paying your 50,000, that is the subscription fee, to the law society, you're actually attached to someone. Yes, you're attached to someone, and that person was meant to help you, the introductory bits, guide you through law school until maybe at a point where you can pick up. But all these things had started dying out. They had started fading out. We're no longer able to realize the importance of such things. So with the new government, or what we should expect, is that we're going to try and put more effort into this. You will actually be shocked by the number of people who are willing, to give out their assistance and guidance for free. People who are willing to help someone, because all of us were once there. I was once there. I was in first year. Trust me, my first exams, it's not that I didn't have a clue, but I didn't know what to do. I had the content, but first semester has been my worst semester in law school so far. Why? I was going into papers. I was doing, a law. When you're doing a law exam, it's not like any other exam. You have to give authorities. You have to, you have to write like a lawyer. That's what our lecturers tell us. Write like a lawyer. But honestly, I was still writing like a high school student. But this is a law student who had been in school for about 4 months with an active law society. Now, I just imagine if I had someone to touch me, if I had someone to tell me that, no, when you're writing a law exam, this is how it's supposed to be. When you're doing a problem question, this is what you're supposed to do. So now that is where the mentorship comes in from. We're supposed to put there these people so that the other generations that come, because UCU, it's undisputed that UCU produces the best lawyers. UCU is one of the best law schools. I'll say that looking into the camp. It's one of the best, and for us to make it even better, because we are now transforming into a law school. To make it better, to give it that standard of a law school, we have to do certain things, we have to pick up certain things. Because yesterday I was, it's very fortunate, I was having in one of my lectures, one of my lecturers, he was talking about mentorship and how it can help. Personally, he was telling us that he had he just went and attached himself to someone. It was something that he did. The person didn't want, but he kind of clinged onto the person. He said, you're not, if you're not helping me, I'm not leaving. I've come here to see this person, and that is it. But it shouldn't be like that. With the law society that is supposed to be active, it shouldn't be like that. We're supposed to put out these ventures so that we make it easy for the incoming people. And mentorship maybe is divided into two. That is the academic bit. That is what I've been settling. But it's also the career guidance. Mentorship comes with career guidance. Most of us have had this thought that when we come to law school, yes, our end goal should be litigation. All of us must go to court. I must go to court. I argue out. And lecturers, almost every lecturer that steps into class, they are all telling you, are preparing you for all this, what. So now what this puts in our minds, because we have seen the failure rates at LDC, they are worrying, they are scaring. So once you reach there, and maybe your one of the unfortunate ones that fail at LDC. You know, this shouldn't be. I think it was in 2020, the year of COVID, where someone actually committed suicide because of failing at LDC. After studying for 4 years, should it go to that? You know, but if someone has career guidance and is like, you know what, LDC is not may not be the end of the world. You know, there are actually other options. You know, there are so many things as a person who has a low degree, because a low degree is not something small. It's a law degree is a very, very heavy degree, both in terms of studying it and the impact it can have on someone's life. So once we give people this career guidance, it's supposed to help them, you know, nurture them, you know, even along maybe along the way, someone can actually realize that maybe litigation may not be my best option. You know, I can try out other means. So it's that is
Yeah.
that is
Well, interesting. Thank you very much. Drake, let me come to you. I'm not sure if, as a moderator, I have the privilege to object to what you said that UCU is the best school. But as someone who is doing law at Macquarie University, I am not very sure about that. But well, well, Drake, let me just get to you. And the questions around mentorship. It is a notorious fact that we are in the fourth industrial revolution.
Sure.
Technology is here and things like that. So, and so many of these legal services are being replaced by artificial intelligence. So in your leadership or in how you intend to run the society, how best do you plan to prepare the students' population for the aftermath, which is largely being oriented around technology? So how do you embrace technology within the the student population?
Well, let me start from the point of, you know, in 2020 when we were hit with COVID-19, UCU was the first institution of higher learning that embraced technology. Now, what does that mean? That if an institution embraced technology at the helm of COVID and it stood the test of time when other institutions were seated home, its students were in school, we stood resilient and stood the test of time. You could argue that Macquarie is the best, but I think being the best is subjective. But just from that alone can tell you how resilient that institution is. That said, we are moving into the fourth industrial revolution. And as students of law who are preparing ourselves for the future, we also have to embrace technology. And embracing technology means we have to prepare ourselves for that. We have to put our heads into a state that is ready for that. All of us in law school, we are going to study cyber law if you're interested. And this only happens when the aspect of mentorship comes in. Now, allow me just hint on all what they all say. Let me start from what Mr. Andrew started, talking about mentorship. Now, the mentorship that we intend to put forward is one that is two-faceted. The one that looks at academic excellence and the one that looks at career guidance. So let us start with the one that looks at academic excellence. You know, generally as a young person, as I said earlier, we need people who have done it, people who have experienced it, to help us, teach us, and tell us what we're supposed to do, not repeat the same mistakes they did. And all of us joined law school not knowing how to read cases. That's a fact. And this is only possible when we have people to guide us and tell us what we have to do. Lecturers are there, yes. Tutors are there, yes. But that is not enough. We need the touch of a student. And we need that, and the touch of that student only comes when we have a vibrant law society. A society that's in position to cater for the needs of the student and provide the students with these relevant people who are academically sound to help people who have joined law school. And that, I believe, can help create and nurture good lawyers. And let me give an example of my lecturer. My lecturer, Counsel Nyombi. Counsel Nyombi, when he joined law school, his mentor was Counsel Silva Kayondo. Now, these are two individuals. Just look at Counsel Nyombi and Silva Kayondo.
Nyombi Ignatius.
No, Nyombi Andrew. Now, Nyombi Andrew was nurtured by Silva Kayondo. Now, these are two lawyers who are very good, who are very good, and all went through UCU. Now, they all benefited from the aspect of mentorship. Now, this is something that we intend to revive and see that is vibrant, that will help a number of students, because you never know, a one Harry could mentor Drake, and one day Harry could be the Chief Justice, and Drake is better placed also somewhere. Now, that shows you the correlation that relates with mentorship, and that's something we intend to achieve. The other aspect of mentorship that focuses on career guidance, as you say, all of us come to law school thinking at the end of the day, because most people outside think the law degree is all about going to court. And oftentimes, many law students up to today think you go to law school because you want to go and litigate. But litigation is not the only option as someone who is doing law has. Let me give an example. Recently, I got attached to a mentor by my lecturer, and this mentor, this mentor of mine he has done international law, and he told me, Drake, with international law it's one that is quite competitive but interesting. And he told me the realities with international law. International law is one area that is boring for many people, but it's something that is interesting to others. And this is a conversation that we had with me and him at a personal level. Now, that is something we want to have for a number of law students in UCU for the betterment of this country, for the betterment of the institution. You say that student leadership forms the politics of this country, it forms the economics of the country, it forms the sociological aspect of this country. Now, that is something we intend to do. That is the aspect of mentorship generally. So the stakeholders that benefit are the students and the institution. She mentioned something to do with the legal clinic. And I think we all join law school, as she said, with ambitions when they ask us in interviews, why do you want to do law? And they're all vibrant and strong and scream and say, I want to do law because I want to fight the injustices in the community. I want to help the poor people. But the reality is, you get into law school, those thoughts disappear. What are you thinking of? Chasing the bag. Now, we are in a country that is widely exacerbated with a lot of with a lot of injustice, from the health sector to education to a number of sectors. And how can a student of law benefit the country and benefit his institution? Education shouldn't be basic. What we intend to bring is education that is holistic, that nurtures someone not only for the field of just school, but prepares you for the outside world. Now, focusing on legal clinic, in Namugere you have PILAC, the Public Interest Legal Clinic. And now what happens with PILAC is, you know the students who engage in PILAC, you apply to be part of PILAC. I know they take only 30 students. In UCU, every student, clinical legal education is a core in UCU. And all the students of UCU could benefit from this program that we intend to run. And we know that the Law Society may not have a sustainable source of fund to see that we achieve that. However, the number of development partners that are willing to help achieve such program, because with clinical legal education, we're in position to give pro bono services to the communities outside. That said, our institution is located in Mukono, and Mukono is highly characterized with crime, and it's one that is said to be an opposition hotspot, and the people are quite poor. We have a prison next to Makere, and next to UCU that we could easily walk to. It's in Wandegea in UCU. Walk to and access these prisons and give our services to the inmates in prison. Now let me show you the effects that this has on the student, the institution, and the inmates. The stakeholder, the student, who is in position to take part in this legal clinic, first of all, will be in position to have something on their resume. Because look at this. Most employers take in students who have experience. You can have a GPA of 4.0 and someone has a GPA of 3.6, but with relevant experience. That person with a GPA of 3.6 is taken because of what they've done. And what we intend to achieve is to give our students that experience, that holistic education, not the one that is based on in class, but one that is all round. Now that benefits the student, improve on their resume, but also create bonds and friendships with people outside. Remember we said you join law school wanting to fight injustice. That is the first step of fighting injustice before you become what? A lawyer. Now the second stakeholder this benefits is the institution. UCU for a number of years ever since its existence, it has been known to do good to produce very good lawyers, the likes of Nicholas Opio, the likes of Silva Kayondo, among others. Now we see that once we are to benefit the institution, the name of the institution is sold out, and this will not only benefit the institution, it benefits the country at large. Because if you have a vibrant name of an institution, many people across the continent, across the globe, would want to come and study in that country. We're not looking at just UCU, we're looking at the broader scale. The stakeholders and beneficiaries of what we shall have. It's not all about UCU. It's everyone that benefits from this.
Broader,
yeah. So the institution benefits in terms of the name, but also the country benefits in terms of income that would come for students. International students would come to benefit from the institution. Then the third stakeholder, the community. You see, I've just given the community, particularly I cited the example of the inmates. We could be we could be the Moses to these people. We could help them, and that's something I want us to do. With this, we can achieve better, not only just for the benefit of the students, the institution, and the inmates. It's a broader thing. An institution of law is supposed to not only help the students, but also the community. And that's what I want us to do. Now, that is on that. Then focusing on your question of fourth industrial revolution, you see how mentorship and then legal services connect, because fourth industrial revolution comes with technology. With mentorship, we shall be in position to have students know who to talk to when they want to practice cyber law, prepare them for that field. The institution has internet all over, and that is something that is good for the institution. Now we have to exploit that resource that we have at hand. And then lastly, something about the law journal I want us to talk in relation to the fourth industrial revolution and harnessing of technology. You have read the Harvard Law Review that is online. You have read the Oxford Law Review that is online. You have seen Cardiff Law, the Cardiff Law Journal that is online. Even Namugere has its online. Now that shows you an appreciation of technology, the fourth industrial revolution, right? As a student of law, you do not have the leverage of possibly engaging so much into technology, but you have at hand the ability to understand what should prepare you to engage bigger into the law sector. That is what I want us to do, the mentorship that will help us achieve this. Let me just hint lastly on the law journal. You know what a law journal can do, you're a student of Makere. A law journal is one that helps students harness their writing abilities. And harnessing writing abilities helps students. All of us, all lawyers, if you're in litigation, you have to write at times the judge requests you to write a written submission. If you're possibly a lawyer who is into research, you're supposed to write a social legal research among other documents. Lawyers generally write. Now, a law journal harnesses that skill of writing. And that is something I want us to do. Revamp the law journal that will make everyone in the institution benefit from this. Harness their writing abilities. Maybe the question of how shall we do this? You see, this agenda that I have here, it's an entirely pro-student. It's looking at benefiting the institution, but benefiting the students, but also the bigger picture benefits the country at large. It is a vision that I hold that is one that is not only for the institution of UCU, but is one that is tailored towards informing the politics of this country, informing the economy of this country, but nurturing future, even not future, now leaders who will take on leadership positions in various institutions, because the fact is lawyers are leaders. And lawyers being leaders, which means in our various fields that we're going to lead, we should be ready and prepared. And in the fourth industrial revolution that we're preparing for, we should receive the right mentorship, we should receive enough experience from the legal clinic, and we should also harness our writing abilities to better inform and have a well holistic lawyer and Christian lawyer out there.
Wow, I can assure you that for the many times I've hosted Drake on this show, I haven't seen him this passionate about certain things. But Harry, let me come to you. And the aspect that I want to bring out at this point is the issue of the tuition prices, the tuition fees at UCU. I don't know, but you could be privileged. You could come from a privileged background, and many other Ugandans out there could be privileged to afford education at UCU Law Society, which I think goes to a tune of maybe 4 point something million or around there, somewhere around there. So the question is that to the young person out there who aspires to, who looks at her and says, wow, I want to join UCU Law Society, but they come from this less privileged background. What does your leadership intend to do in terms of giving a student from Karamoja a fair chance or a shot at even joining UCU Law Society, given the current tuition prices?
Right. I think I had earlier hinted a bit on tuition, but however, to be more clear about it, as I said, as much as we as aspiring leaders feel like we want to do a lot about this issue, it goes back to the cost of education in Uganda, and in particular higher education. And being a costly venture, there is a bare minimum to which you cannot attain higher education, even if you're to go to public universities, let us say Gulu, Makerere, and the like. However, I believe that the best we can do as student leadership is to try and see, when somebody has reached this bare minimum, let us say, tuition, for example, at UCU currently stands at about 3.2. Let us say somebody has reached the minimum of 2 million. Yes, it is not an easy figure, but at least for somebody who is interested in pursuing law at UCU in particular, and they've mobilized their resources and they have this money, the guild at UCU also usually gives in some money when it works in cooperation with the Law Society. So they could also get, let us say, another 200,000 from the guild. Now, as a Law Society, this is where we come in. We have already worked with the guild and put in some money. Now, we, capitalizing on this unity, we intend to build among students. We could start campaigns to fundraise and see that some of these people within us actually mobilize this full amount, because we cannot promise that we are going to, within a tenure of about 1 year, go to URA or go to the responsible government agencies and convince them that they need to stop taxing private universities as much. We cannot promise that, because you see, the thing with taxation is a country has already made a budget, they know where they're going to get this money from, and to come and tell them that as UCU, we feel like as the Law Society, we have sat down and this 30% tax you put on tuition is abnormal and it should stop, is something that I don't believe will work overnight. However, it is an avenue that we are willing to pursue if we get the right opportunities and are in the right circles to work on this. Yes, we have tried mobilizing already. As we have said, as Drake was saying, that we are looking for development partners. If we can pull a few scholarships here and there, if we can pull a few development partners to come and help us with our campaigns, we are willing to do that. And that is our agenda as per now. However, we cannot come with an unrealistic expectation that we shall tell an administration that is already faced with external pressures to do with the cost of education to reduce this. However, we could look at the individual student who needs this help and see how best we can work around it to get this amount for them,
Harry,
so that they can also have a chance at
Harry,
education.
just a follow-up on that.
Yes.
Is that how sustainable is the aspect of mobilizing tuition for individual students who cannot maybe raise all that amount? I mean, how sustainable is that plan? That is one. Two, yes.
Can I let me interject? In UCU, we have what we call the financial aid office. And I don't know if Makere has one, because in Makere, I know if you don't pay up to 100%, you don't sit exams. UCU is one institution that if you possibly have paid up to 75% or 45%, and you're facing financial challenges, you write a letter to the office of the VC of finance, attach a letter, and they'll help you out, and you sit for your exams. Now, what the Law Society can do in our power.
But that only postpones the problem. Eventually, you still have to pay that
True,
money.
true, but it helps you sit your exams and it makes you attain education. Win-win, right? It's a win-win. You may be facing a financial problem right now, but you have to sit your exams. The fact is, the most important thing is where to sit for the papers,
But then,
which is important.
okay.
Now, the question of sustainability, it is true that mobilization is not sustainable. Now, with the financial aid office that we have at UCU, it is one that offers scholarships. I know of friends of mine who have benefited from this, who come from our backgrounds, from Northern Uganda and the likes, who have received scholarships from financial aid and are being paid fully. Now, what the society can do is possibly advocate for more of the slots. We cannot say we shall keep on mobilizing and requesting the guild and here and there, because the fact is, at the end of the day, we are students, and most students in UCU do not work. They are possibly funded by their parents or guardians. The only thing as what the society can do, because student leadership is about advocacy and lobbying. We lobby for more scholarships, for more slots in financial aid office, and give it to the most students. We give it to the students who need it the most, because we know that those students who need it the most, they're financially strained, but they're academically good. That is what we shall do.
All right, just hurry. Just to get back to you, but much more later on. But still on this Precious, I want to bring you in, is that look at Makere University. In 2018, the University Council passed a resolution to increase tuition by 15%. Less than 12 months later, the student movement rose up and said, no, this is unbearable and we will not abide by this. We will not sit here and watch as education becomes a commodity in Uganda. They went up in arms and the University Council halted its increment of tuition. So the question here is, do you think that beyond the negotiation that Harry is talking about, beyond the mobilization of resources from maybe partners here and there, do you think that you need to be more, do you think there is need for a more, how should I put it, a radical approach, if I'm to say? Do you think the Makere approach is one that you could consider in your administration?
Well, I will commend the Makere students for what they did, but in regards to Uganda Christian University,
You could be suspended.
I know. No,
I did not say that.
it's an institution that nurtures and creates good leaders. So it makes us disciplined.
Okay,
Yes, maybe I'm going to sound weird by saying this, but I also believe that as you're going to an institution, you go there knowing that they have a certain amount of money they do pay, and you respect that, and you go to that institution. Just like a student saying they're going to Namugongo, his parents totally know that Namugongo pays a lot of money, but they're deciding to take their daughter there because they know it's paying a lot of money, but it's worth
But
it.
at times, do you have a choice anyway?
Yes, we do have a choice. You can decide to go to Makere where they're paying a bit less of the money than what you see is
And
paying.
what if you don't get admitted at Makere? And your only choice is Uganda Christian University?
Well, that's where the other point comes in.
Mm.
Personally, I do not even know how my parents managed to get all the money they pay at UCU. I know they struggle to get that
I can
money.
tell you, some parents are selling off their land.
So, yes, some are doing that.
Mm.
So why I'm saying the other point comes in of trying to adjust. As a student, I used to sleep inside school, and inside school you pay about 4.65
Wow.
something. So the point of adjusting came in for me, that I looked at the fact that I cannot pay all that money every semester. I had to adjust and went outside school to a hostel that is paying less than that. Yes, I know when we collect this money, even if the institution has the financial aid, they try to lobby, even the previous government tried to put a 1K campaign. Even if they get over 5 million, they're still not going to be able to pay for all the students that are
Exactly my
lacking.
point, yeah.
So that's why I'm saying the point of adjusting comes in. We have hostels that are paying about 1.8 or 1.2. I would not go to a hostel. I'm talking about myself. Like how I said, I do not even know how my parents are getting all that money. I would not tell them that I want to go to a hostel that is paying 1.2. Why would I be doing that? My parents cannot afford paying a hostel of 1.2. We're paying 3 million for tuition. So that's where adjusting comes in, where I decide to go to a hostel that is paying 600 or 500, knowing that my parents will kind of figure that out. Probably, usually the women handle that.
Precious, my issue with the argument is that you're focusing on individual decisions and individual merit. My question seeks to address a structure issue.
Can I?
No.
Can I interject?
No.
I just don't know.
Precious.
Yes,
My
please.
question seeks to address a structure issue. Your conversation is around, okay, my individual decision is, okay, I can move out of university to a cheaper option. But how about the structure issue? Because my concern is, how can we address this, okay, not once and for all, but in a way that everyone benefits. Otherwise, not everyone might be privileged to say, okay, now I will move to hostel and things like that. Yes.
Allow me to respond. I think this tuition issue, generally as a country, education is expensive. We shouldn't focus on UCU.
Yes.
The fact that we have a country that we actually pay all these amounts of money, even in Makere, you may say you're paying 2 point something, it's still a lot of money.
We paid 2.0 actually.
Yes,
Someone
2
can't
million,
afford that.
it's still a lot of money. Education shouldn't be that expensive. UCU may pay 3.2, we still receive the same service of education. My argument here is, we are not the right stakeholders to be answering this question because it's a matter of the government.
No, because
and how institutions
you are a
are
victim.
formed. Yeah,
You are a victim.
yes, we're
So
victims.
you cannot fold your arms and say,
Yeah.
okay, now this issue must be handled by the government.
This is the thing.
You must propel
As
government.
a
You must
victim,
compel government to act.
you see, if you're a student of law, you study the social contract theory.
Yeah.
And what informs the social contract theory is the aspect of fear. What brings people together is fear. Fear from extinction. Yeah. Now, the fear that is supposed to unite us as students in the whole country and parents that are victims of this is the aspect of highly monetized education. Because UCU may not have the capacity to reduce the amounts of money that we are paying because, one, we have the number of issues the institution itself has to sort out. What the student leadership can therefore do in its capacity. As I said, we have a financial aid office that is very good and very effective and up and running. The only thing we can do for now, because it's not a small issue, it's an issue that goes up to...
Yeah, it's cross-cutting.
It costs cuts. You cannot tell me, okay, you're paying 2 point. 2 million and you call it small money because it's not small money.
Because I mean, if
Okay, if
listen,
you're
if
to
2 million is bread, then 4 million is cake. but
Oh, that's the whole afford bread.
yeah, true. But I mean,
Yes,
cake
that's-
then.
Okay,
Not to mention
no,
cake.
I
Not to
think
mention cake, yeah.
I think the argument should therefore be the issue of tuition is one that I would like to put to bed right now. Earlier on, I said that the cost of education in this country is generally high, and I showed you that receiving secondary education in this country is higher than actually achieving higher education or university education. But that aside, Makere in that institution you pay 2 million. UCU tuition fees, according to what is provided in our fee structure, is 2.2. Now, what hikes or what makes the other fees go high is the aspect of the functional fees. And those functional fees go to up to around 900,000. The fact that those functional fees go up to 900,000, it's because first and foremost, we are a private institution that is not supported by the government. So those functional fees help with payment of lecturers, with having a functional health facility, making sure that the services in the institution is quite good and quite important. But that aside, the role of student leadership is one to advocate. And in our capacity, we can mobilize, we can do all that, but that is not enough and it's not sustainable. What we can do is advocate. And the first place to start with this advocating is the financial aid office, which is very functional and very, very helpful and giving scholarships to students. UCU is one institution that has ties with very many institutions out of this country, and they are giving scholarships to the financial aid office. Now, what we can do is identify the relevant students because everyone has problems, but then are those students with more pressing problems than others. We identify those ones and give them what they desire and make sure that their stay in law school is good. But the bigger problem is we may cut the tree, we may just cut the tree from, from the stem and think the tree will not grow again, but it will still grow. The bigger problem here is education generally in Uganda is highly monetized. The best thing we can do as a country is, as the now leaders, we shall soon inform the politics of this nation. Education is one that shouldn't be a commodity. It should be free to all. In the then Uganda, education was accessed by everyone. But right now what we're facing is the reality, but that shouldn't make us comfortable. We shall fight when the time comes. For now, we do what is in our power and our capacity to see that we see students going through UCU, achieve holistic education and come out as vibrant lawyers.
Yeah, thank you. Andrew,
Yes.
when I hear Douglas, he agrees with the Hobbesian theory that, the state is the alpha and the omega. I mean, the government, must set the laws and things like that. But my question is that, do you think it's about time UCU student leadership began to speak truth to power regarding issues like tuition? That if it means you walking to, I think you have a chaplain, okay, a chaplain or
Chancellor.
Yes, chancellor or the VC. If it means you guys walking up them and saying, you guys, this is too much, we shall put the pressure on the university council, and it's upon them to put the pressure on government to to reduce whatever taxes they're being taxed on. So I don't know, how would be your own approach regarding tuition?
Well, the issue of tuition, first of all, we should first put a clear-cut difference between public universities and private universities.
Yeah.
There's a very, very big difference, a very big one. The type of retaliation that was at Makere when they put, I don't know, the certain percentage, 15% on their tuition, the type of retaliation that happened in Makere, I'm telling you, there's no way in this world that can ever happen at Uganda Christian University because of the different policies and how things are handled at Uganda Christian University, which I cannot go detail into. But when you're talking about the role of student leadership, you've talked about maybe us going to the chaplain and try to, first of all, we have to put a lot of things into context. Uganda Christian University, just like so many other private universities, each student at Uganda Christian University is being taxed 30%. Each head in Uganda Christian University, 30% of their tuition is being taxed. So what does this mean for a private university that has to survive, that has to pay off its, that has to pay off its different workers, that has to do a lot of things, It means that at the end of the day, if they put tuition at the level at which people want it to be, it may not be able to operate. Uganda Christian University as it is and the standards it's holding, it may not be able to hold those standards. But what can be done, this cannot happen the issue of tuition and its reduction, just like in any other private universities, it may not happen at a singular basis of Uganda Christian University. But as we have said, the role of student leadership is advocacy. Now, what can the law society try to do? Maybe together with the guild government that can also cooperate with other guild governments in other private institutions. Because UCU as an institution, it's not the only private institution facing this challenge. But if we come back down and say that maybe let's organize something with other private universities, we come up as a singular board of private universities, maybe then that is when we can have an impact. Because the fact is that UCU as UCU, so many people have tried, so many people in their different capacities. His Excellency Kidega, they all tried, Museveni once came to UCU and even promised, made some promises, but even then it has still become hard, because of what my brother was talking about. These people come up with a budget, at the end of the day, you're going to go back and look that if we stop this, then this is going to affect this. It's a chain of reactions, So at the end of the day, this ceases to be an issue of an institution like Uganda Christian University, and it goes back to all other private universities.
No, why I say it's an issue is that because the same government that is taxing UCU 30%, like you said, is the same government offering tax incentives to other business investors or even foreign direct investors. All right. So it's a question of strategy and priority. That, and this is my honest opinion, that if you put your voices out there, perhaps government could be compelled to act differently.
Yes, that is exactly what I'm talking about.
That if government has a budget, yes, we agree that there are many other ways through which government can generate resources. Not only from taxing a very important sector like education.
Yes, that is what I'm talking about. We have all these things, the National Council for Education. I'm sure I'm not well certain what it's called, but I'm sure there's a union for these private institutions. Now those are the things, those are the institutions that and unions that the law society, and the student leadership body at large in UCU and other private institutions, that is where we're supposed to come in from. That is where we're supposed to, that is the route we're supposed to take. But us coming as a law society and saying that, maybe writing letters to different ministries and all that, and saying that, you know what, the tuition you're paying is too much, we need you to cut this tax. It may not be that easy. It may not even be possible at all.
Okay, but are you willing to try?
Yes, we are willing to try. Very much. Very much.
Yes.
Very much. We are willing to try.
Because before you try, you can't know whether it's possible or not.
Yes, exactly. We are willing to try. That's why we're saying that we're advocacy. We're trying to make these connections. Maybe if you connect with the National Council for Education, in a way, you're going to get to a minister. In a way, you're going to get to the president. And when we talk to the president, as you've said, education is a very important sector. We cannot play with education. It's a very, very important sector because education, as the first-class countries have showed us, that education is the basis. It's the basis of all development. It has been the basis. So we cannot, we as Uganda, we're trying to develop. So we cannot play with education. That is what we need to put out to the government. That is what we need to show the government. Maybe through these institutions that. There are priorities like health and but education is one of them, because if you don't have education, you cannot have the doctors. If you don't have education, even for a policeman, for the army, there are minimum requirements of education. So we cannot play with that. As much as they fund the army, or let education be prioritized amongst that, and that is what we as leaders, we as aspiring leaders, are supposed to do. That is what advocacy is all about.
All right, thank you. Harry, let's shift gears a bit and just move into the aspect of activism. When the country was faced with the contentious issue regarding the amendment of Article 102B, we saw students from Makere University, from the law school, getting up in arms and saying that this, as people who appreciate constitutionalism, this amendment of this law shall affect us in A, B, C, D, all right, shall affect the basic structure doctrine of our law. When the country was grappling with issues around the increase of commodity prices, we saw students from other universities saying that no, the government has a responsibility to its citizens to regulate the free market, but government has a responsibility to regulate. So the issue around activism is that each time the country is faced with issues of national importance, we don't see UCU anywhere.
Well, I believe that's a
Are you
question
less
of,
concerned?
well, I believe that is a question of the spaces and how the whole systematic bit of activism works. You see, you can be an activist for various things at various levels, and most times, some in a movement are more remembered than others. But that doesn't mean that those that are not remembered did not participate in that movement initially. For example, let us say you are doing activism for commodity prices. The best place to get attention would be if you held maybe a banner in the middle of Kampala town. But which university is nearest to Kampala? Makerere. So that means that Makerere students have a closer proximity to town and will definitely be the majority in such a procession. But that doesn't mean that they are alone there. But then when you go to social media, there are very many UCU students that always bring up their voice. Yes, you may be in Mukono and you're not near enough to go to town and walk with a banner, but on social media, your voice will be heard because all these stakeholders that have a lot to do with this are also in that space. So I believe when it comes to activism, yes, UCU has not had a voice that we as students maybe have not been the majority in any of the recent groups. I mean, have not been the majority, but definitely we take a part in these activities, but also from an informed point of view. And also it goes down to the core ideology of us as an institution.
Because, Harry, why I ask this is that I don't think that media is only centered in the central part of this country. I think that, you know, I've seen activists like the Honorable Betty Namboze do their things in Mukono, and media still finds them wherever they are. So the distance between UCU and Kampala, to me, is a lame excuse, sorry to say. But I think that the point is how best can you get the students of UCU, and precisely those of low society. Our country is at the verge of having so many constitutional amendments. At least there are some that you should be able to vehemently speak about. If it means you holding placards and getting your voices heard, I think that is an extent that you should be willing to reach. So, I don't know, in your honest opinion, do you think that the student activism in UCU is cajoled or it has space to grow?
Well, I believe it has space to grow, but the direction which it takes will be
is diplomacy.
Exactly. It is different from the conventional force against force. It is more of, as you say, diplomacy, I think would be the best word. Because you see, at the end of the day, the end justifies the means. One may fight to attain what they want, one may negotiate and get it on a round table. So I believe that how you strategize towards what you are going to do is what matters and not what you do. Because we've seen governments, some governments go around the country and look for votes, other governments go and launch wars, both get into power and both do things when they get to power. So I believe that we should not criticize the ability of a government to work or the ability of an idea basing on how we have gotten there. But rather, as long as we get there, that's what's important. If, for example, I talk about it on social media and I raise eyebrows and I get the attention I require, I believe it wouldn't be necessary to also take the route of holding a placard in Mukono town. Yes.
Okay.
Can I interject?
Fair enough.
That's
Yes,
my
Precious.
Yes, for me it's exposure. Yes, I agree with you. I will not say that UCU has been much in activism. That is the truth. But it all goes down to exposure. I would say UCU students, law students, we are, like I said, we are more into theory. We do the reading a lot. The library is there, we have a lot of things to read, and we know most things in theory, just that. So that's why our point comes back again, legal clinic. When we expose our students...
Is that an indictment on UCU? Because if you're saying that you're theory-based and not practiced,
No, okay.
does that pour water on his argument that UCU is the best law.
No, it is the best. Yes, we have all students go attend moots and all that. But what I mean, the biggest number of students. That's one of the reasons. That's exactly one of the reasons as why we are looking at a legal clinic, which we do not have. What I'm saying is that, of course, there are some students who are out there and are going for moots. And yes, UCU is also helping us do that. But the legal clinic comes in and gives students exposure. When you're out there and you are into the field, you're having a test of how the field actually feels like. You're exposed and realize, I can actually bring a change in this manner. We can actually go with my colleagues and bring change in this, whatever the government talked about here. And you cannot just wake up in the morning and you've read a book. Maybe some people can do that, and then you just go and start talking about something to bring down something. It is possible that you reach out there and you're probably using bad law. Like sometimes we stand up and you're presenting and someone tells you that is bad law because it was there in 1993 and the other cases that actually changed that.
Overturned.
Yes. So when you're into practice, when you are into the field, the legal clinic as you're talking about, your eyes are open to something new. You realize that we can actually do things different. So when this legal clinic comes in, it's going to bring change. I do believe that.
It will bring in some activism, you mean?
To be more exposed.
Allow me to respond to the question you asked Harry and she interjected too. Activism in UCU has not been one that has been vibrant. We have seen very few students take part in this. I'm among the few people who possibly speak out, go into those spaces, among others. Now, that is what we want to change. As a law society, you are an avenue that provides opportunities to students. And these opportunities are what informs or what makes students get passion into practicing or engaging into some fields. And this is only possible if you have a society that is in position to bring closer these opportunities. From my personal experience, I wasn't so much engaging into things relating to talking here, talking there. But when I got the opportunity to expose myself to Center for Constitutional Governance, had the opportunity to interact with the staff, to Dr. Sarah Birete, among others, I understood what exactly it means for us to speak out.
To Kidega Moses.
Yes, to you, Kidega Moses, to a number of panelists that have met on the Youth Roundtable. Now, that is something I would like us to bring into UCU. Not very many of the students have the ability to get into these spaces. And this is only possible if a society that establishes external relations with other development partners, that is in position to, as we said, holistic education, inform the ideology of the students, make students understand of what exactly they can do best, help them identify what areas they are good at. That is when you see students being active in a number of fields. We have very many good students in UCU. In UCU, I think we have students almost in every field that could be good in something. The only thing that we lack the ability to harness this potential that we have. We have every necessary ingredient that there is in UCU. The only thing we lack is the ability to harness this potential in the students, make them come out, awaken the activism inside them, and make the students come active. And this is only possible when we first of all work on the things I've talked about, have the ability of students harnessing their writing skills, because with writing skills, students can write legal documents that can attack a number of institutions, that can criticize the amendments that are happening here and there. That is activism. That is only possible when we revamp and harness the law journal. 2, the legal clinic that she's talking about. Legal clinic would expose students to the realities of the world, make you see the injustices that are happening, make you identify a field that you're interested in and stand out and speak about it. That is what we intend to do. Thirdly, the mentorship in terms of academic excellence. Above all that, we are students at the end of the day. You cannot achieve all that if your grades are derailed. You cannot achieve that when your grades are up and running and also your social life outside is also firm. In terms of career guidance, you cannot come out and start activism if you do not have the right person to talk to and guide you on how to do these things. I wouldn't be speaking here loudly if it wasn't for the number of mentors that I have in you, in Dr. Sarah Birete, in Mr. Damian, and a number of people that I've interacted with. That is only possible when we have a vibrant law society that gives our students the opportunities, that exposes them, that makes them see the realities of this world. In UCU, we have very many brilliant students who read, students who know concepts. That's why you see the number of good lawyers coming out of UCU. But we need to harness this potential as young as possible, make people identify which areas they're good at, to make them the best lawyers there is in this country. It's not just for UC at the end of the day. It is for this country at large, and it's for those individual students that we intend to serve and intend to impact on their lives. This is an impactful agenda that we intend to fund, but it's a dream and it's a vision that we intend to carry that would form the politics of this country and will change the legal fraternity in this country.
Wow. We are due for a short commercial break. To all our viewers and listeners out there, there's a comment section right below this video. We know you have opinions and thoughts about the student movement and, of course, the opinions being put on this panel. Let us know what you think by putting your comment on the comment section, but above all, don't move a muscle. See you shortly after this.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
We'll be back from that short commercial break. Andrew,
Yes.
we know what Harry thinks, what Precious thinks, and what Douglas thinks about activism. What are your own thoughts?
Now, the issue concerning activism is that we have so many people in UCU, you know, in the amongst the UCU fraternity that want to take up these, you know, these different ventures, you know, go out there, speak about certain things, you know. But first and foremost, it all goes back to exposure, you know. Someone is not just going to wake up and they're like, oh, so the government has decided this and it's going to affect the country. Let me go out there and do this. No, no, no. If someone has not been exposed, you know, someone doesn't know actually how they are going to start with something, how they are going to start, you know, coming up and rising with something, it's not going to be possible. I want to commend Namugere. I want to, you know, appreciate the efforts that the MOOC fraternity, you know, the students at large, you know, we have always seen the efforts that are well appreciated, you know. You know, maybe sometimes it ends up into, you know,
Violence.
Yeah, violence, you know. It always takes the other political side. It's very unfortunate, but those are very great efforts. But the type of environment that we are having in UCU, you know, it's not an excuse, but the type of environment we're having in UCU has not enabled even the would-be activists, you know. Even if, you know, activism doesn't always have to take the radical means, you know, where police comes with the red top military police, they come, beat up people, the tear gas and what, doesn't always have to take up that, you know. But the fact that we have normalized that is also another issue of its own that needs another debate of its own. But it doesn't always have to take that. So I feel like, you know, we are in Uganda Christian University, you know, we have our core values. And they say when you go to Rome, you do as the Romans do. So why don't we adopt this activism in a way that is
Diplomatic
diplomatic, that is in line with the core values of UC? Because at the end of the day, it's not all about going out there and you know, standing up on something that is later going to lead you to trouble. You know, now imagine someone, you've been studying for 3 years, you're almost finishing in your 4th year, and then over something that is not a small issue, maybe you get thrown out of university. What are you going to do next? You know, on top of that, you may be arrested, parents incur other fees of removing you. You come back, your suspension letter is waiting for you, or suspension indefinite, whatever the case may be. So if we are in Rome, you know, if we are in UCU, why don't we adopt the measures that would be fit in a UCU community? You know, that is what goes back to, you know, the exposure and the role the society is supposed to play, you know, because the issue of activism doesn't only come to the law society, no. There are other faculties, you know. We have the business faculty, the engineering faculty. These are all people that affected by certain issues that happen in this country, you know, certain decisions that are taken, certain policies that are made up. So if we can come on board, you know, that is the other aspect of unity with other faculties, you know. This issue of you know, there's always been a battle when it comes to guild elections, you know, where we see other faculties what, and after that we find out that other faculties are salty. You know, we find someone moving on compound, they're saying, man, next time the law school cannot take it. What? We should move past that, you know. That is the unity we are talking about now. So if we harness that unity and maybe, you know, come up with these diplomatic means through these faculties, come up with diplomatic means that maybe when the government comes up with such a policy, what are we going to do, you know? Follow the right measures, go through the right routes, you know, inform maybe the administration that this is what is going to happen, you know. You don't have to be radical. We don't have to go overboard, you know, when it comes to certain things. So I feel like it would be more, it would be a way of adopting activism in a way that you see you and us as the students may be comfortable with. So that
All right. Just about comfort, to me, I think that if we intend to achieve certain results, we must be willing to get out of our comfort zones. And what do I mean by this? Because if you look at, take an example of Che Guevara. If you read his history, he abandoned his very, he was pursuing a bachelor's degree in, I think, medicine and surgery, but he abandoned halfway because he felt that there was a much more greater good. You look at the General Mugisha Muntu of their time, who walked out of Mitchell Hall and said, you know what, this country is being poorly governed, and we must do something about it. They got out of their comfort zones. So I feel like you're toiling the line of comfort zone. Oh, I have to go to school, or my suspension letter will, you know. So are you willing to get out of the comfort zone to do the things that make you uncomfortable, but for the greater good? Because it's you guys who mentioned here that student movement is supposed to eventually cascade into a much more bigger idea, you know, to offer this country leadership. So I don't know. Do you think it's about time you got out of your comfort zone?
You know, it's good that you ask that question. You know, yes, there are people who have adopted. You know, they have gone out of their comfort zones, but maybe just you know, food for thought. But even after they have adopted those means, what has really changed? Apart from maybe Makere as an institution, they have been able to achieve what they have achieved through that. But I'm saying at a country level, you realize that
country level,
you know
that the Mugisha Muntu walked into Luwero and 5 years later, Kampala fell to their hands.
Yes. So the Mugisha Muntu were working with.
We cannot say that there are no tangible examples.
Yes, the results are there. The results are there. But Thomas Hobbes, he makes a very valid argument in his book, Levantium. He says that much as there is power, there is always a higher power. You know, there is always a higher power. Us as students, we may have the power, but at the end of the day, we must first sit down. That's why we need to go back to the round table and first think. If we go and adopt these means that have been already adopted, what is going to happen next, you know?
So what do you do if the higher power is abusive? It is arbitrary.
Then we go back to the drawing board and then adopt, maybe try something that has not, you know, diplomacy, something that has been adopted before. I won't deny that fact. But maybe it failed because of the way we were trying to adopt diplomacy, you know? We need a different approach to that. And maybe radicalism, has proved to, you know, have some, you know, it has some yields. That is also another undeniable fact. But again, as maybe Makere is out there approaching this in the way they decide to approach this, why don't we, you know, why don't other people try other means, you know? Maybe we can try to work hand in hand, you know? They can. Yes.
Different approaches, same results.
Results.
All right. Drake, I'll bring you in. Precious. The law fraternity or the law faculty at UCU, perhaps to the student community, is seen as the bedrock of legal knowledge. So the question is that I have to assume that you've gotten yourself acquainted with the student constitution, all right? Or even the faculty constitution. As you as you clamor to take over leadership at the faculty, what are some of those constitutional provisions that you feel are obsolete that need amendment? Either in the Law Society Constitution or in the Students' Guild Constitution. Because I'm sure even the Guild President will come to you seeking your legal knowledge about certain things. Do you think the UCU Constitution of the Students' Guild is, does it acknowledge affirmative action, for example? Does it acknowledge the rights of maybe disadvantaged? How do you evaluate it?
Can you allow me to respond to that?
No,
as someone who intends to run, to just help my sister
Okay,
here.
okay.
Let him go. Brad.
Let's start with the constitution of the Law Society. Our constitution was promulgated in the government of those of Ernest. That is in the year 2018, 2019, I think. The constitutional provisions that we have, affirmative action is something that we always advocate. UCU's population is widely characterized with a lot of girls. That's a fact. And in this race that we are in, majority of them are girls. So that shows you the aspect of affirmative action that we stand for. And that shows you that we advocate for women to take up spaces, to take up positions. That is the first thing. So in the issue of amendment, I do not think there's any issue of amendment that we need to have. However, we need to stand firm with what we have and push it further. So maybe to just quickly jump into, just respond quickly to what my brother Andrew was saying. For those of us who have appreciated the history of the world and for the history of various countries, we know what writing, the power of a paper and pen,
Yes.
what it can do. It can change governments, it can topple governments, it can inform a country as well. And that said, for those of us who have studied history, and possibly those who are studying jurisprudence, you have understood the concept of feminism, racism, the concept that changed the United States of America. The movements that fronted this were law students. Law students who formed the movement wrote documents, wrote papers that helped influence changes in the institution. All of us are law students here. For those who have read the case of Brown versus the Board of Education, that's a case. This is a student who wanted to go to an institution, a white man institution, but was denied because he was black. Now, who came forward to fight for this guy? The movement it was called the legal movement, something legal movement in the United States. What does that tell you? Students of law came together, wrote documents, informed decisions, changed institutions. UCU is one that could possibly not go for violent means. Personally, I'm someone who is not up for violence. Violence can lead to loss of lives. Violence can lead to loss of limbs. I'm someone who believes in advocacy, who believes in diplomacy. And I believe diplomacy can yield better means. When both of us come on table, we can yield that. Just from the example of the law students who wrote documents on feminism, documents on racism, and changed the institution of the United States, we could do the same. We have a number of issues in this country, from torture, we were facing torture, issues to do with human rights, issues to do with the students that are talking, the tuition things that you're talking about. This is only done when, as you said, it brings us back to the point, harnessing our writing skills, the law journals that we shall have. That could be an avenue of advocacy, an avenue of activism. And that is something I want us to, that is something I would like us to work on. And once we achieve that, then we're in position to see that students are brought up in a better and proper line, because UCU's core values, we as Christian lawyers, and the Christian doctrine is one that doesn't advocate for violence. The Christian doctrine advocates for people, brothers and sisters, to sit together and agree. And that's what makes us UCU students.
Well, still on the Christian values, I think it was Jesus Christ who found people trading in church and and poured their things down. he took a much more radical approach. But well, that be it as it may, thank you. But still on the issue of the Constitution of the fraternity and the Students' Guild, does your administration look at certain loopholes in the law that you'd love to propose? Harry, any proposals for amendment?
Well, the Constitution was recently reviewed. So as of now, there is aware that there are not so many issues that, because many of the loopholes that were there before have now been fixed. I believe right now our role is to do as we say, to go back to the practical approaches to the law. If in one of our activities we intend to go practical and maybe the constitution is a limitation, then that can be handled then. But for now, we do not feel like we have anything which we suggest that needs to be amended before we get there.
Andrew, any proposals for amendment?
Not really, as she has already mentioned. It was already reviewed, and I'm sure all the loopholes that were seen by that time, they tried to cover them. But maybe what can be done is maybe to try and make the constitution more practical. Put the constitution into the people. Into the law students. Acquaint them with it. To make it to make its applicability easier, and because it will all go back to the issue of allegiance, of the law students to this constitution. If we make it more practical and we show the people that the student fraternity that this constitution is actually being operational, it will make it more practical and easier to revamp the law society.
Precious, any comment?
No.
All right, no comment. Well, let's shift gears a bit to the aspect of UCU vis-a-vis political parties, just to get your views on that.
Yeah.
And Precious, I'll begin with you. What is your take regarding, I think UCU has a policy that does not allow non-partisan policy, right? Well, Makerere University and others, I think, are quite liberal in their approach. You can be an FDC flag bearer, running for MLS president, or even, at whatever level, you can hold a political party. So what is your opinion around that?
Well, I do appreciate the political parties we have in Uganda, and at the same time, I do commend UCU for being non-partisan.
Why?
Because, okay, look at the fact of, we do not have political parties in UCU right now, but when there's, when you're in for elections, for the students, you have noticed how students get very passionate and almost want to fight. There's a time we had that kind of wrangle a little. We don't have political parties, but students are already passionate to a point that some of them even hate each other. I'm not saying they fight like how we've had it, but that friendship sort of fades away. So let's imagine political parties coming. There's a way people fail to exercise restraint when they're into political parties.
But political parties are preaching democracy.
Okay, yes, that's true. But you have noticed that the political party, the problem is not with the students themselves, but what the political parties themselves are doing outside, not as the students. Look at what NUP does, look at what they do when they meet NRM people. Putting the students aside, just the political parties themselves, the people who are running those political parties, how they behave both times. It is okay, they're all trying to bring out their point, what they're trying to advocate for, but how they do it, the violence all started with them. And that kind of mentality also went to the people who join them, even the students. That's why I'm saying they get too passionate and they fail to exercise restraint. So if the same thing comes to students of UCU, and they've already been struggling when they do not have the political parties, what will happen? It will get worse. Yes, it is okay that people are going to, and I have a friend where he says most people who become politicians in Uganda are from Makerere because they have been exposed to political parties when they're still students, which is true actually. I have seen very many of my friends going into politics after that. But for UCU, I'm okay with us not having
Being
political
non-partisan.
parties. Yes.
Drake, as the team leader, as the vision bearer, you mentioned the aspect of holistic education. Leaders from UCU, I am not sure if their aspirations will end at UCU. Tomorrow, like she said, they'll get out there and they'll have to contest for maybe Member of Parliament or LC5 or at whatever level. And political parties are going to come to them and say, but Douglas, we have seen you while at UCU. You can be our flag bearer in this election. The non-partisan principle at the institution, is it depriving students of that mentorship, of that exposure to political parties that they are going to find just a few years after they step out of the gates of UCU? So is that a deprivation, or you still insist that you should be non-partisan and leave the partisan politics for when you leave UCU?
Okay, allow me to start by saying the politics of a country informs the quality of leaders that emanate from the student body and student leadership. That said, last year we lost a student of ours. He was in LLB2 from Kampala campus in Namugere because of violence that was happening, because of one party being NRM, the other party being, is it FDC? Nope.
It was NUP and FDC.
Nope and FDC, yes. We saw the violence that happened. And the essence or the idea behind UCU being non-partisan is first and foremost on the part of violence. As I said, the politics of a country informs the quality and type of leadership students play. And as a country, we are at a stage that is volatile. And violence, losing future or now leaders in just because of student politics is something the institution is trying to fight. It's true that political parties inform or give ideologies or help students align themselves with ideologies that would best fit with them. It's true. But that said, UCU is one that is against non-partisan politics. And being against non-partisan politics, the argument could therefore be to avoid the aspect of people being in clusters of I am NRM, I am FDC, I am NUP, I am DP. We are a Christian community. And a Christian community looks at having people together. Looks at not separating people on grounds of color, you're yellow, you're red, you're blue. We play our politics on grounds of everyone is the same, everyone is the same, and no one should turn against each other because, hey, you're yellow, hey, you're blue, hey, you're green. That is the essence behind it.
You're speaking in the terms, you're speaking from the ideal point of view.
Yes.
But 2 years down the road, you'll find yourself having aspirations to contest in a given constituency, where what you're trying to avoid right now is actually being practiced there vehemently. So you are only postponing your participation in partisan politics, but eventually you'll get there.
But we also...
So are you being nurtured for when that time comes?
I think leadership is not about which political party you're aligned to. Leadership is inborn, and leadership is also, it's also mentored, it's also nurtured.
No, Drake, I'm saying this because I have to believe you're cognizant of Article 69 of the Constitution that provides for a multi-party dispensation.
True.
All right? So we are in a multi-party dispensation, and you can't avoid it. To go to Parliament, yes, you can run as an independent, but most people shall align themselves to given political parties. It's true. So you cannot avoid it eventually.
The same constitution that provides for multi-party politics also gives us civic responsibility to do what we deem right. Express ourselves freely and express ourselves in a way that we feel is right for ourselves. And the institution chose that part. We have the right to freely express ourselves. We express ourselves not with political parties, but with the ideas that we believe are right for ourselves. It's true that we shall possibly align ourselves with political parties then, but the politics we practice now, the institution is trying to instill in people the non-violence to avoid the calamities that would possibly construe from the aspect of having political parties that has been happening in various institutions. That is something the institution is trying to fight. It is true that we shall run out and be in position to join a number of political parties. By virtue of the fact that you express interest to run for a particular position already shows to the community out there or to the world out there the kind of person that you are. It doesn't mean if you're to run in a political party right now, it will also determine the kind of person that you will become. It is just the process that you go through. It's enough. It's not a political party that makes you. It is who you are that makes you. So if I am Onen Douglas Drake and I have these principles, I have these values that I believe in, and those are the values that will possibly even make other political parties better when I'm out there. The purpose or the project that I am in now as an individual running in a process, my own race, as my own man, makes me the kind of person that those political parties are looking for. And that's what UCU politics teaches us. It makes us our own man, and it makes us the people that other political parties want.
Harry, on the issue of political parties still, my question is that when you get out there, the reality shall come at your doorstep. It's a partisan political process. Do you think that you are being deprived of certain level of nurturing? That if UCU had a liberal approach towards political parties, is that now you'd perhaps be under the mentorship of maybe NUP or FDC or NRM that is mentoring you, in terms of ideology, in terms of how to be a better leader. Do you think that you're being deprived of certain things, certain political experiences?
Right.
Because you're all aspiring leaders here.
Well, my view would be that as much as UCU does not allow political parties, we must recognize the fact that these political parties, yes, they nurture, yes, they mentor, but at what cost do they come? Because whereas in UCU politics, we are a bit more of, should I say, a united force. There is no reason why nobody should support Drake when they hear him talk and they believe in what he is saying. You will not say that, okay, yes, Drake is a good candidate, but he bears yellow.
Okay, I want to ask. UCU is a Christian university, right?
Yes.
How many other denominations are there?
A number
Of them, right?
Yes.
So are these denominations a platform for ideological orientation? That because I am Islam, these are our principles. They preach A, B, C, D. I am Catholic, and this is what they preach in our faith. Are these platforms for ideological orientation? My view is that yes, they are. That you can be candidate Harry, but because you're Catholic, I'm like, I am Protestant, I will not support Harry. So the point is that the distinctions not only come from the political parties, but there are many other avenues. So I think looking at political parties is only a scapegoat. Because like I said, people have different affiliations to different things, you know. So still on the issue of, do you want to insist that political parties encourage division and not anything else?
Well, yes, you have a valid point. We have very many things that could possibly divide us. Yes, you may say that maybe you're Muslim and I'm Christian, so I should not go with you. But when it comes to some issues, for example, the issues which we bring forward, the issues in our law school, I believe that my Christianity is put aside and so is your Islam if we hear somebody who is willing to take away that problem that we both face.
And so could your political party be put aside.
However, when it comes to political parties, it is a different question altogether. You are supporting a political ideology which you have already bought into. So even if somebody else has a better solution, people are hesitant to support that person because maybe they bear a different color. And that is the problem of the division of political parties. Whereas all other things that divide us reach a point and you choose which side you want to be on. For a political party, it is that choice is, should I say, it happens on voting day. You vote your party and not necessarily the candidate. Yes, Uganda, currently, political parties have been the breeding ground, the nursery bed for most of our leaders today. But if you're to observe closely, there is a mushrooming number of people who have been mentored by NGOs, because as much as NGOs in the beginning were supporting political parties, now many of them are supporting developing leadership in general. And I believe these are points you can exploit. And even if you may not be allowed to put your political party on your banner in UCU, if you believe that that's the kind of mentorship you want, nobody stops you from going to FDC and saying, okay, well, I love the work you're doing. Yes, I want to be mentored. Although you may not put it on your poster and you may not openly profess it, you get that mentorship, but you do not come to the students and plant in the colors and draw lines based on color and create that extra division at a critical time, which may also lead to violence because there is a lot at stake when it comes to a political party. Because as members of the party, you are all affiliated, not because you believe in what Drake is saying, but you know there are benefits that come with your color winning. So when your color wins, you are going to maybe become this or that in school. Maybe you stand a chance next year because your color is in power. So it becomes a do or die, like we recently see in Ugandan politics, where somebody knows that as long as I am placed as the NRM candidate in the constituency, I must make sure no other party wins. Maybe if I'm placed as FDC, no other party wins, because in one or the other, it directly goes back to how that particular color will benefit in that district councils, maybe ministerial positions, and that kind of thing. And I believe that kind of do or die is not something which we are willing to let into our politics as an institution. Those that want the mentorship could go there and humbly request, but we are quite conservative on the view that we should bring in that whole scenario of having political parties and so being affiliated to what?
Interesting. Brilliant submission. Andrew,
Yes.
your own opinion. Every
Now,
man shall be judged by their own words. What are your own opinions?
now, first of all, my take on this would be that we shouldn't look at the issue of political parties and all that on the other side of violence. Now, if you have to look at political parties, we must also look at what type of leadership are they going to bring in. You know, in most cases, political parties are affiliated with a certain strength, you know, amongst the people. And if you observed the previous election we had in Uganda, the general election, the country election, we saw that there were some areas where some people were actually just ticking certain symbols because they told them that why you see this is why you tick, why you see this is why you tick. Now, what is that type of mentality? What is that type of, you know, of election? What type of leaders is it going to bring in? You know? We must also look at that. Because if we say that we're going to go with political parties, some political parties are stronger in a certain place. And in Uganda, as the stats show, that if a certain political party is strong somewhere, even if the candidate is weak, even if the candidate is not the one who is supposed to be leading people, that political party is certainly going to win. And at the end of the day, what are we going to have? Incompetent leadership, you know? And that is what we're trying to fight. We're trying to fight leadership that is based on political parties, that is based on colors. We're trying to bring up leadership that is based on the strength of someone, you know, the experience of someone, you know, what someone can be able to achieve for the better good of everyone. So when we look at it in that context, we shall see now why it's not always the best, you know, to have political parties in institutional politics. However, we cannot undermine the influence or the downgrade that has on people in terms of leadership. Because I'll use an argument which the Makere people were bringing up when your vice chancellor wanted to remove the political parties, that institutional politics, you know, university politics, this is the bedrock of all politicians. If we say that we are going to remove political parties, this is going to deny someone the experience. It's going to deny someone, you know, that type of mentorship to the next level politics, the country politics. So we cannot deny that fact, you know. But at the end of the day, as my colleague said, we all have our political parties. I personally have my own political party that, of course, I cannot mention, but I have my own political party that I feel like, yeah, I align with these people's ideologies. I feel like these people are the best, or they are good at what they are doing, and they're the best at driving. So, me, in my own time, you know, because as I said, if we're in Rome, we're going to do as the Romans do. But if I come out of Rome and I come to my own space, I can choose to do what I want, you know. At the end of the day, I'm going to go to a certain political party, the political party I love. I'd be like, so this is the case. I'm actually interested in being mentored by you, and that type of mentorship is going to come up. So it all depends on someone, you know. No one can be denied of the chance of you know, being nurtured into leadership through a political party. No, it will all go back to you. If you're actually interested, you'll actually go and look for these things. These unions are there in different institutions, you know. They may be underlying in some institutions, but they are there. So if you look for those people and tell them that, yes, this is what I affiliate myself to, at the end of the day, you're going to get the type of nurturing and support you need.
So literally, you're on your own. I mean, Precious, the issue of sexual harassment. I don't know what the policy is for Uganda Christian University, but I know Makere University has a zero tolerance to sexual harassment. What does your administration intend to do? First of all, are there cases of sexual harassment at UCU? And if they're there, how does your administration at the faculty intend to deal with it?
In regards to sexual harassment, I would not say I have had any issue when it comes to a student and a lecturer. Like I have had, like we have all grown up hearing issues at Makere. Like there's a lecturer and a student always somewhere. Like I have not seen it myself, but it's always there in the news and all that. But for you, see, I've not heard of any scenario of that kind. Though sometimes when you sit and have conversations with fellow students, or when the faculty comes in and is trying to inform you of what has happened, they could tell you the students that are struggling, that are saying they have probably been in some abusive relationships, or others have been harassed by their fellow students, or there are some students who just get depressed after they have been harassed, not by a student but someone outside. Like how girls will go out with a certain gentleman and something happens to you, but you cannot speak about it, because sometimes even women will feel like it's embarrassing to say you went to a man's place, you got harassed, or they'll ask you, did he force you to go there? No, he took you. So sometimes it's hard to talk about such a thing. But we have had, like, I will defend law faculty very, very clearly, because we always had meetings and we discussed how to handle or to help some students that are struggling. A few come up and explain that they had something going on, only that the number that we have had so far say what happened to them was outside school. It wasn't at school. But for at school, the cases are very minimal. The most cases are outside school, and they just open up because you have finally talked to them. Probably it happened like a year ago, but they have been tormented about it all the time. We have some organizations that come in at school, and we are clearly associated with them. We have Onen, and I'm a member because we recently had a symposium at school where we actually invited very many students. Oh, and it was a good turn up. And some students come up and open up about what happened to them. Others try to encourage each other. So when it comes to sexual harassment, as you said, Namugere has zero tolerance. Actually, at UC, it's even worse, because I'm a class representative and I exactly know how even lecturers treat me. Male lecturers don't usually talk to me the way they talk to my other colleague, the class representative. The male ones seem free with him, but they never get me in that kind of place where we are going to be alone or talking late in the night. We don't do that. You see it obviously that they're trying to avoid misinterpretation. Yes, they're trying to avoid that misinterpretation, because the student can think anything.
Sure.
When we're having conversations, I remember recently I was having a conversation with one of my tutors, and he made sure we go next to the classroom where students were standing, because he was trying to avoid, what are they doing in a classroom alone? So he made sure he leaves his class and comes up next to my class. So it's more serious at UCU, and I actually want to appreciate UCU because they've protected us. We do not have cases of students and lecturers, we do not. So the other matters that are there, we shall keep handling them because we have organizations.
And there's a counseling body or a counseling clinic that provides students with
Psychosocial support.
Yeah, with psychosocial support.
Yes, Drake, my question to you as we wrap up this in the next 10 minutes is that you mentioned all these good ideas. The legal clinic, the mentorship programs, the law journal, and etc. The issue is, how do you intend to finance all these programs? Because I'm not sure if the university will give you all this money. So how do you intend to finance this programming? Is it from your membership? I don't know.
Okay. We have a provision in the Uganda Law Society constitution, in Uganda Christian Law Society constitution, that provides for finances. And the society, first of all, its first source of funding is from subscription.
Okay.
That is the first source of funding. Secondly, the other source of funding comes from the guild government. That said, that funding is not sufficient and it's not sustainable. Now, let's start with how we shall fund the law journal. The law journal, as the UCU law journal, as we said earlier, it is one that is for students. And this is how it's going to work. And this is how it's going to be funded. The law journal is one that doesn't require a lot of resources. It is one that maybe we shall just look at having a website, which would possibly make us incur. But fortunately enough, we have MIS in UCU that deals with technology, deals with handling matters of the computer, which I believe will be supportive in us achieving that dream. So that means our first program is one that just requires a matter of talking with the faculty and liaising with MIS to have a functional and have an up and running website. But also, you cannot have an up and running website if you do not have a team that works with editorial. Now, the editorial team is going to be comprised of maximally 9 people. We're looking at having an odd number that is good because oftentimes editors are good writers and good writers are good editors. So there's going to be a call for applications for people to apply, express their interest, take part in this. It's entirely for students. When we get those students who are interested in being the editorial team, subject them to a plethora or a few tests here and there, you see that if they're fit to be the editorial team and execute this mandate. So once that editorial team is up and running, we have the website up and running. Students therefore they're free to submit in their applications, to submit in their articles or their journals anytime. So we shall have a time frame for that. Time frame of, let's say, by the end of by November, we should at least have our first or whichever edition of the UCU Law Journal out, which is something that is achievable. I have a friend who is studying at Cardiff Law University that is willing to even support us and mentor us because he has done it at Cardiff Law University. So he's also willing to come and support his own here in Uganda. And we have a doctor in our dean who is an academician and can mentor the students who are going to be part of the editorial team, because you need a doctor to help support the students and the lecturers who can help us achieve this. That is achievable. It doesn't require finances. It's entirely pro-student, run by students. It's achievable and practical. The second part of the law clinic or the legal clinic is one that requires resources. Picking a leaf from PILAC. PILAC is funded by a number of development partners.
Yeah.
It is funded by DGF, which closed recently, unfortunately. It's funded by the likes of RLP, Refugee Law Project, among other development partners.
CAS.
Yes, CAS, among others. Now, these are development partners that are willing to foster and push activities of students. That once UCU expresses interest with the kind of students and the kind of lawyers UCU has been putting out there, and with the alumnus out there, we can be in position to lobby for funding to see that we have this legal clinic up and running. And this is only possible if we have a society that works together with a team that is willing and dedicated to see that we have this up and running, because a law clinic is one that requires finances, and the finances from the subscription and the guild is not enough. But it's only enough if we're in position to partner. That's why we have external relations in our agenda. Partner with development partners who will be in position to come and help us support this dream. Such partners like Ministry of Justice that is willing to see students participate in pro bono activities, partners with CAS, RLP, among other organizations willing to see us achieve this dream, which is highly possible. And that is how we shall fund the legal clinic, which is, I think, it's achievable and practical. This agenda is one that is not ideal, it's one that is practical and achievable. And lastly, mentorship. Academic excellence. We have students who are willing to support the others. The students who are willing to also better themselves and help the others. The only motivation they require is an aspect of a certificate to show that you have done something. You leave UCU knowing you have a certificate that you've been mentoring students. That is good on your resume. You may not get financial benefit there, which can even be spent, but you have a certificate that will be attached to your resume that will help you in the long run. That can be achieved. How about mentorship in terms of career guidance? We have a number of people outside there who are willing to come and talk to students at a free cost. Yeah, we do not incur any cost. We just reach out to them and tell them, please come and talk to the students, come and mentor, come and give us career guidance. And they're willing to come and give students this talk. Maybe just for purposes of to just express courtesy, maybe give them fuel. But oftentimes these people even they've made it. All they want to see students get there. And that is achievable. And that is practical. So you see, our own hurdle here, or our own issue of funding that will require a lot of finances would be the legal clinic, which is achievable because students will do it with the help of the development partners that we shall reach out to, with the contacts that we have that we have created here and there with you, with CCG that is greatly helping us in this cause. It's something we can achieve, and it's something we can do. We can make UCU great, and we shall give the students of Uganda Christian University holistic education, not just basic, but holistic education to prepare them for the world at large.
Well, thank you. Harry, your last question on the show is your approach towards mental health. We know that it's a burgeoning issue, really. So many students out there find themselves involved in so many things that perhaps I'll not mention, but the issue is that mental health is a core aspect. So the students of this society, what is your administration intending to do regarding issues around mental health, factors?
When it comes to the question of mental health in UCU, various steps are being taken, especially by the counseling office, recently there was a program of para-counselors, and I think certificates were offered,
Yeah.
where the counseling department at UCU calls for applications from students, and they train these students to be para-counselors so that everybody at least has access to some kind of counseling, which is good for mental health. Because you see, unlike other diseases, mental health is one that is unpredictable, and you need help when you are facing the problem. It's not something that can necessarily wait, because split second decisions can cost you your life if you are not in the best mental state. We've seen this happen to various people. So we believe that if such programs can be promoted by the society and supported in terms of awareness, advocacy, as we're saying, through these unity programs, for example, if the society is doing something, we can always let people be aware that these services are out there for everyone. And by the time somebody makes such a decision, they'll have at least time to double think, and will also have time to connect them to a qualified counselor, other than just leaving it to God will guide the decision. At least on that, we as a society will raise awareness so that people have access. At least the counseling department has taken steps to at least make these services available among fellow students.
All right, colleagues, our time is fast spent. I don't know how much time we have, but I think about 5 minutes. So I'll give you just a chance to give us your parting shots in maybe 90 seconds. So I'll begin with you, Andrew. Your last words on the show in
Yes,
90 seconds.
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank you, Comrade Kidega, and the other panelists. It has been a wonderful experience. Thank you for having me on the show. And as a closing remark, to the law fraternity, and UCU at large, as I earlier on said, leadership is something we cannot take for granted. Our leaders are the representation of us, they're the representation of our interests. So as we go in for this election period, let us be peaceful, let us be mindful, let us keep that unity, because there is life after these elections. And as we go out there, let us vote the best person, let us vote someone based on ideologies, not just petty politics and all that. Let us set the standard for other universities. Thank you.
Yes, Precious, your last words.
Oh, I thank you so much for having me. I thank you for having us and my colleagues. And I thank you for helping us show our fellow students what we have for them, like what we can offer. And for the students, I really want us to know that there's a lot more good coming in. For the first time, I'm having a lot of hope. I've been in law school for 3 years, but this is the first time I'm having hope in what we are going to have as the law society this time around. Believe and have faith, because I believe that you're going to see results this time for a better law society, and law school, which is not just about books, but also having peace of mind, having results, and experiencing the field of whatever we are doing, which is the law. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Precious. Yes, Harry, your last words.
I would like to thank everybody that has made this show possible, and I would like to encourage UCU students that come the 10th of March, we should all go out and exercise our constitutional mandate to vote. And as other panelists have said, we have hope in Onen, but it is up to you to choose which candidate you deem fit. And I believe that we have sold to you a dream you can buy, and something that is very possible and practical.
Yes, Mr. President, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Your last words.
Allow me to start by saying that I'm honored to be on this show once again. It's always a privilege and it's always a thrilling experience. My call out to the students of Uganda Christian University Law Society is that on 10th of March, let us all turn out and vote. I know we have all lost hope. I know we have seen leaders come and go and have not acted on their word. This time round, it's something different. Personally, it's a personal conviction, a conviction of seeing us having an impactful leadership, a conviction of seeing us receiving holistic education. It is not an ideal vision or an ideal dream. It is a vision and dream that I see that is practical and achievable, because I have the hope and belief that we can all do this together, not as an individual, but as a team. So my call out to you is vote Onen Douglas Drake on the date of 10th of March. But also don't forget that once we're in office, we work together, we use feedback, and we relate, because at the end of the day, we shall cease being students, move out and be Ugandan. So let us exercise that right carefully, and exercising that right, I implore you to do that. And once that is done, we shall work diligently and effectively for a future that is good, for a future that is firm. I remain Onen Douglas Drake. Let us rebuild and restore our law society. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Council Harry, Council Andrew, Council Precious, and Council Your Excellency, Council Douglas Onen. Yes, to the viewers, thank you for sparing the time to be on this week's show, and we are always glad to have you. When you've heard it from these UCU lads, well, I haven't heard from other candidates, but I think I'm quite impressed from what I hear from this particular team. 10th March is the day. Go out there, cast your vote, exercise your constitutional mandate to elect and choose your leaders. And I know that this team that we have had the opportunity to host here is perhaps the best choice. Otherwise, from us, have a lovely Wednesday afternoon. See you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.